Next, let me show you the DVD and Blu-rays of the Criterion Collection that I have. So the DVDs and Blu-rays are all arranged together. In other words, I don't distinguish between DVD only and Blu-ray only, or I don't distinguish between the plastic case releases or the digipack releases. No, I have them all together in one. And so I'll have that kind of the shelves that'll go like this and go like that, you know. So I don't mind that. I think it's easier for me to consider where everything is, and it's easier for me to find something if I have everything arranged by spine number. So that's what I have. So I have spine number 1 starting at the very top there, so Grand Illusion, and just extending along the way that way, and then just continuing down through this first set of shelves. And then when we get down here, which is around the I want to say the mid 250s, I'm sorry, mid 200s, then we can go up there, and it starts again, L'Éclisse, and it goes all the way down here to the bottom there, and then it goes up there again, so that's Showa up there at the top, and it just continues on down to here. And the last one I have, which I haven't put on the shelf proper, is this, which is Shampoo, which I got in the mail a few days ago. And then the bottom here have some extra DVDs. So let me just show you a close-up of these shelves, if you don't mind. So as I said, this is the top of the first shelf, starting with spine number 1. Again, I apologize because not everything is included on these shelves. So for example, you'll notice around here, Salo is not there where it should be. And that's because I've taken it off the shelves, because as some of you may know, I'm set to talk about it very soon in a video where I talk about the films of the Criterion Collection in spine number order. So I've taken the film Salo out because I'm currently re-examining the film for purposes of that video. But I do have it elsewhere in the collection here. So let's just continue on down, shall we? So here we go. Some more DVDs and Blu-rays that are all together. And I should say here that you might notice that I have more than one copy of a same release. For example, you'll notice, for example, on the left-hand part of the screen, you'll see Straw Dogs. There are 2 DVDs of Straw Dogs, as well as the Blu-ray. And so you might be thinking, why is that the case? Well, the reason is that it's very simple. Just as with some of the examples of duplicates in my Laserdisc collection, I have the same thing for my Blu-rays and DVDs. So occasionally I'll have come across some duplicates along my journey of collecting these items. And so that's why I have more than one of them. And I just haven't gotten around to selling them off yet. But there are some other duplicates in this collection that I'd like to just talk about really briefly after I go through them. So here we go at the bottom of this shelf, and as you can see, I'm still trying to rearrange the Merchant Ivory discs. So at the moment they are without a home, so to speak, so I really apologize for that. The same is true also for the 100 Years of Olympic Films box, and also this, which is the 25 films by Akira Kurosawa. I don't know what I'm going to do with these quite yet, but I'm going to work on it very soon. But anyway, the main collection runs across there, and then it should continue up here, which is the third and last shelf. So here we go, starting with Show at the top, and we can go down here slowly, and we're making our way through the spine 700 area, and we reach what I hope is the end. Yes. So, as you can see, this constitutes the most recent area, and here's 8 Hours Don't Make a Day, and my most recent acquisition, which is Shampoo, which I have yet to put on the shelf properly. And here's just some discs that I've pulled off the shelf because of one reason or another. And so, yes, so I have to return those. But in the meantime, they're just here as a temporary measure, so to speak. And then below that, here we have the Eclipse series. And then once the Eclipse series is finished, there are these are the 3 Reasons discs, or the 99 Reasons discs, excuse me. So I think volume 1 and the second disc, and I have 2 of those for whatever reason. And then the Rialto box set and the Del Toro trilogy. And here it is again, the Blu-ray version of that. And then at the very bottom, I have some VHS tapes there. And then I have the children's classics. So Red Balloon, Paddle to the Sea, and White Mane. And also from here I have the Essential Art House box sets. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5. Volume 5 here, as you can see, is unopened. And this is because I actually have another set of this. But that other set, when it arrived at my house, actually had coffee stains on it. Someone probably spilled coffee on it. So I opened it, and the discs are fine, but I was able to get a replacement. And so I just haven't, this is the replacement of that, but I haven't opened it because I still have the coffee stained one. And then we have some miscellaneous items here, which are CD-ROMs, actually. Hard Day's Night Voyager CD-ROM. So I think one is a Mac version, one is a Windows version. Some other people have asked me, why do you have 2 copies of the same title, for example? And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it just happened as a bit of happenstance. I maybe collected something along the way and I just happened to come across another copy for whatever reason. So that's just the reason why I have 2 copies of some of the titles. For example, the one that I'm quite proud of the most is this one. So the Carlos Saura's Flamenco Trilogy Eclipse series. I got this and then I was able to find another copy on the Japanese version of eBay called Yahoo Auction, and I was able to find it for a very, very cheap price, so I couldn't pass that up. So that is an example of something that I found after the fact that was very cheap, so I couldn't resist it because the price was just too good to pass up. But in general, I don't consider myself a hoarder of things, so I don't try to get every single copy of everything ever made. But maybe I just have come across more than one copy of something and I just haven't had a chance to sell it. I have given away a couple of these to friends, so maybe sometime soon, I don't know, maybe I'll think about maybe giving some gifts away, I'm not sure, but in any event, I still have these, some of these being doubles. But it doesn't really end there, because there are other instances where I have more than one copy of the same title, and that's because of another reason, which is this. I usually like to collect the different cover versions of the same release. So an example is this. The recent Blu-ray of The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp looks like this. Now, I just have this version of this release in a Blu-ray. I don't have this same DVD equivalent with this same cover. I don't usually do that because I think that's, for me, that's just a bit too much, and I can't necessarily afford getting both DVD and Blu-ray version of the same release, so to speak. But I do have this, which is the DVD, the earlier release DVD. Now this, as you can see, has a different cover than this, and also the logo is different. As you can see here, the logo is the line logo, whereas the more recent release obviously has the C in the corner over there. So what I try to do is I try to get the different variants of cover for each particular release where that is applicable. So that is applicable here with Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. It's even applicable for something like this, Band of Outsiders. Now, Band of Outsiders, I do have this in a with the Wacky C, and this is the Blu-ray. But I also have this, which is the earlier DVD. It's not the Wacky C version, but it's the line, Criterion Collection line logo release. So I will also try to get the same title, but if the one version has, let's say, a different logo and than the recent version, I'll try to get both versions. So if there's separate releases that are distinguishable even only by the logo, I'll still want to get them, as I consider those to be variants on the same title. And lastly, I will try to get the dual format release of a title and also the single Blu-ray release of a title where I can. I haven't quite done that with everything yet, but for example, here is Tokyo Story. This is the single Blu-ray release, and it's a really nice film, obviously. Here it is also, it's the same thing, but this is the dual format release, and as you can see, not only is it dual format, but also the dual format is in this nice digipack presentation, whereas the Blu-ray is in this plastic case presentation, as you can see. Incidentally, I also have it here on the initial release 2-disc DVD. So I guess that is just a general overview of my collection. I suppose some of you might be thinking, why the heck am I doing this? And I think that's a very fair question. You know, it's not my intention to turn anyone off to collecting. I hope I haven't done that, but I guess it's just something that I'm really into, and so I really like this sort of I like this aspect of collecting. I should mention as maybe a closing comment that, as I said before, I don't try to get both DVD and Blu-ray of the same release version. So I think that for me is a little bit too, it's too unwieldy. So I can't manage that, unfortunately. I do know, however, that some people do that, and I really find that to be quite a fascinating aspect of collecting. I suppose I'd like to end by asking you, do you have any collecting stories of your own? What kind of collector are you? Do you consider yourself to be a kind of a casual collector, that you want just to get those titles that are interesting to you? Do you consider yourself a collector that is not necessarily bound by the Criterion Collection? In other words, you are concerned more about the films themselves rather than the label that is behind the films, which I think is also a very admirable and fascinating and great approach to collecting films. Or are you more of a hardcore collector of Criterion? Do you consider yourself a completionist in terms of collecting? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your stories and your thoughts and your ideas about collecting and your collecting philosophies. That would be really great. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. I'd be very happy to address them to the best of my ability. Until we meet again, my friends, this has been a brief overview of my shelves, focusing in on the Criterion Collection. So thank you very much for your time, and until we meet again, my friends, please take care and have a great rest of the day. Cheers. If you're still here, this is, I guess, the equivalent of a post-credit sequence. So maybe some of you have been asking yourselves, what about your other non-Criterion releases, Daisuke? Where are they? I mean, you've cleaned up your shelves really nicely, but I don't see any of your other non-Criterion Collection releases. So for example, where are your Masters of Cinema discs? Where are your indicators? Where are your arrows, etc., etc.? And that's a very fine question to ask. Let me just show you what happened to them. So if we look here, you can see that here are the spine numbered 97, 98, 99, etc., up to 100 Beastie Boys. So this is nothing pretty interesting, I think. But if we look here, we can see, oh, here we go. The indicators are actually behind these discs right here. And in fact, there are some more here. Yes, as you can see behind these, you can see the indicator titles arranged by their own spine number behind this particular row of Criterion discs. Here's another example. So here are the Eclipse DVD box sets. As you can see, they're arranged by their own number. But if we look here, you can see behind them, you can see Eureka Masters of Cinema Blu-rays. And they're actually, there we go, there's some over there. So the Blu-rays are actually, there's a bunch of Blu-rays that are actually housed behind these. And the reason why I have done that is simply because I am not able, in terms of physical space that's available to me, to show and to lay out all of my films. That's just the nature of my own living quarters and the space that's available. So it's impossible for me to have everything on display at once at the same time. So what I've opted to do, at least for the time being, is to have the Criterion discs be on the outward level of the shelves, and then to have everything else be on the inward level of the shelves. So that is a kind of an interesting way of arranging it for me. I haven't quite done this before yet, and I don't know if it's sustainable, but let's see what happens over the next couple months. Maybe I will do this in another video, just show you what else I have in terms of shelving. Here's an example. As you can see, there are some arrows behind this shelf, and there are some more arrows behind that shelf, as you can see. So yes, so these shelves actually not only house the Criterion Collection, but they also have all the other films that I have in my collection. So maybe one day I will show those in another video. Until then, my friends, I hope you are well and have a great rest of the day. Cheers.